Welcome to The Explainer. So today, we're going to dive into a really powerful short film. It's one that kind of holds up a mirror to modern parenting and that all too common struggle with screen time. It's a story that starts with a tantrum, sure, but it ends with this profound lesson about what our kids are really learning from us. You are on your phone for the whole day, too. I mean, wow. This single line from a daughter to her mother is basically the heart of the entire film. Think about it. It's not just defiance, right? It's an observation. And it just perfectly captures that central conflict, the gap between the rules we set for our kids and the rules we actually follow ourselves. Okay, so the story kicks off with a scene that will probably feel, well, a little uncomfortably familiar to a lot of parents out there. It's that tense negotiation, that battle of wills, and it's all centered on one single glowing screen. So first, we meet this young girl, Samya, and her entire world has just shrunk down to one thing, her mother, Mamta's phone. And she's not just asking, she is pleading, absolutely desperate to watch cartoons. And that desperation, well, it quickly spirals into a full-blown tantrum. And here is Mamta's dilemma in action. She tries to hold the line, telling her daughter no means no. But then a really crucial work call comes in. And in a moment of pressure that so many of us can relate to, she just caves. The phone is no longer a toy. It's a pacifier, a tool to buy a moment of peace. And just like that, without a single word, a powerful lesson is taught. Now, this is where the film gets really, really clever. It brings in a parallel story to show us a completely different reality. And this isn't just about comparing two kids, it's about seeing two totally different worlds, both shaped by the parents who are creating them. And here is that other world. We meet Shiva, and he is just as absorbed, just as focused as Somya. But his focus isn't on a screen. He's buried in the pages of a book. His excitement is so real, you can almost feel it. He's so eager to start reading, he can't even wait to get home. It's an addiction, for sure, but a completely different kind. So the film puts these two realities right next to each other. On one side, a child demanding a screen just to stay entertained. On the other, a child who finds adventure in stories. And this forces us, the viewers, to ask a really important question. What's the invisible force here? What is creating these two completely different outcomes? All right, so the tension really starts to ramp up when these two families get together. What starts as a simple visit turns into a crisis, a moment that forces Mamta to confront the consequences of her daughter's obsession, right then and there. When Somya visits Shiva's house, her behavior just says it all. I mean, she's physically in the room, but mentally she is a million miles away. She doesn't want toys, she doesn't want to play with Shiva, she even throws a doll that he offers her. She's completely disconnected from the real world because her mind is still fixated on that screen she had to leave behind. So not long after Mamta and Somya leave, the crisis hits. Shiva's mother, Jyothi, realizes her own phone is gone. And there's this moment of pure confusion and panic as she's searching everywhere, just can't find it anywhere in her home. And then you get that moment of truth when they call the missing phone. It doesn't ring from inside the house. Nope. It rings from Somya's pocket. It's just a moment of absolute shock and shame and just total public embarrassment for Mamta. Mamta's reaction is just this mix of pure anger and despair. She confronts Somya, asking, "Is this what I have taught you?" But you can tell that question is really directed at herself. In that awful public moment of shame, she feels like her entire approach to parenting has just been put on trial and failed miserably. So this gut-wrenching moment, it actually becomes the catalyst for the film's most important revelation. This whole thing stops being about a misbehaving child, and it becomes about the very nature of parenting itself. And it all comes to light in this raw, honest conversation between the two mothers. Defeated and just so confused, Mamta turns to Jyothi and asks the one question every single parent has asked themselves at some point. She sees Shiva, so well-behaved, so engaged, in love with books, and she just needs to know the secret. How did you do it? And Jyothi's answer? It's this single, powerful piece of wisdom that is really the core message of the entire film. She says our children might not always follow our advice, but they are always, always watching our example. Jyothi reminds her that, there's no instruction manual for parenting. We're all just learning on the job. And our kids, they're our first students, learning not from what we say, but from what we do. This is the whole idea of parental modeling in a nutshell. Our kids just soak up our habits, our priorities, even our anxieties just by watching us live our lives. And Josie makes this incredibly practical. She points out that when we're tired or busy and we hand our kids a phone saying, "Here, just go watch something," we are actively teaching them to turn to a screen for comfort. She totally gets that giving in feels easier in the moment, but she reminds Mamta that sometimes the most loving thing a parent can do is hold a boundary and say no. But here's the great thing. The film doesn't just diagnose the problem and leave us there. It offers a really hopeful path toward a solution. And the change doesn't start with punishment, but with empathy. And surprisingly, it's the children who actually lead the way. In this really touching scene, Shiva approaches Soumya not with judgment, but with an invitation. He doesn't scold her for wanting a phone. Instead, he offers her something better. He shares the magic of his world, the endless stories of kings and princesses, all hidden inside his books. And Shiva's simple act of kindness, it just sets off this chain reaction of healing. First, he builds a bridge with his books. This encourages Soumya to finally genuinely apologize to her mother for the hurt she caused. But, and this is so crucial, it doesn't stop there. Mamta apologizes right back to her daughter. This mutual apology is really the emotional climax of the whole film. It is such a powerful moment where Mamta acknowledges that the fault wasn't just Soumya's. She recognizes her own part in creating this habit. It's this moment of shared vulnerability that finally allows them to start fresh together. And this brings us right to the film's ultimate message, which is a simple but really profound idea. If we want to change our children's behavior, the very first place we have to look is in the mirror. Before we can teach them, we have to be willing to learn and grow ourselves. And that leaves us with this final, really resonant question. It extends far beyond phones and screen time, doesn't it? It touches every single aspect of our lives. Because whether we realize it or not, a lesson is always being taught. The only question is, what are we teaching?